it's Laura from Doggy U, and today's video is going to be all about Osa's first week home. We're going to go over training, integration into my household, socialization, as well as husbandry and care. And you're going to get some insight into what I'm thinking about in my first week or so home with a brand new service dog puppy. So let's get started. So Osa came home at the beginning of March and it was snowy and awful out. Not my favorite time to housebreak a puppy, but she didn't mind at all, as you can see here. And she was super into exploring, pretty independent, and loved peeing in this weird position. All right, moving on. Let's get started with talking about training. So with any puppy, when they start training with me, I always start with loading the clicker and loading the name. The clicker is the marker that I'm going to use to let the puppy know that they've done something right and that reinforcement is coming. So the clicker is like taking a picture of behavior we like, so we need to teach the puppy that the clicker means that food is coming. Once we have that clicker teaching the puppy that the reinforcement is coming, we can now add her name and start teaching her that her name is valuable. I never ever use a puppy's name unless I'm going to follow it up with some type of reinforcement or something that they really enjoy, so we can start solidifying that their name is an important thing to listen to. When I have a puppy that's this young, I don't really care about teaching obedience. What I care about is instilling a love of learning and teaching them the types of learning they're going to do. So I want to give them good foundations in shaping, luring, and capturing. The three methods that I'm going to use to train this puppy going forward. So everything I do isn't about I need to get it down quickly. What I need to do is teach the dog how to learn how to down, or how to learn how to do any behavior. So here I'm just shaping her for what will be a go-to-place behavior, teaching her to love running to her spot and eventually laying down on that spot. That's our shaping behavior. What I'm also going to do is luring. So I'm going to start teaching her that when I take my hand with a cookie in it, I want you to follow it. I might be doing a spin, a down, a sit. All I want you to do is just follow that cookie around so you can learn how to get into different desirable positions that I like. I spend a lot of time at this age just feeding meals in desirable positions. So even if all I did was just take breakfast, lunch, and dinner and feed in sits, downs, and on station, I'd have a puppy that was pretty well trained pretty quickly. I want to use those meals that I would be feeding anyway to get better behavior with my dog. I pretty much never feed out of a bowl unless I need to do, administer medication, and even then I'm going to feed out of a puzzle bowl to get the most out of the food. When I'm thinking about using my food wisely, I don't want to just dump it all in a bowl and give it to their puppy and have it gone in 30 seconds. I want to get some value out of it. So value could be creating a smarter, more tired puppy with the use of puzzle toys, or it could be using that kibble for training and getting a better behaved puppy. But either way, I want to get as much value as possible for the food that I'm going to already be feeding my dog. Here we're just shaping that front foot target, something I want her to get sticky to and find valuable as I move forward in teaching her some fun heel work or box work. When I put that bowl on the floor, I want her to pop those front feet up so that I can use this for some more complex behavior later on. Here's another example of just position feeding. I'm luring her into positions I like and just feeding lots of cookies in those positions I like. And anytime that I say cookies in this video, I just mean any type of food reinforcer that I'm using. Here's an example of a little bit of an impulse control game that I'm using to work with her. I want to start teaching her that she doesn't have to just plow through everything she wants to do. She is very physical and uses her body when she can to be pushy. So here I want to teach her that she gets the reinforcement as long as she backs off and thinks about what she's doing. Yes. Impulse control is critically important for a service dog because they are exposed to so many environmental stimuli that they have to ignore when they're out on the job. If you want to learn more about this game and some of the other things we're doing here, make sure you head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/doggyu, where I post more in-depth training videos as well as do a monthly Q&A so you can get your questions answered. Yes. Here I'm shaping some more go-to-place behavior. This is an important guide dog behavior that we like them to do. So I wanted to show you how many feedings I'm doing on this place. I'm just continually feeding once she gets on and then releasing her and bringing her back and feeding again. Because I did so much work with this at the beginning, you can now see her enthusiasm for going to place only a week later at 9 weeks old. I really love her enthusiasm here, and my goal with all of this young puppy training is to have an enthusiastic learner. In this clip, I'm combating a behavior before it even starts, which is jumping on a couch. As a service dog puppy, she's not going to be allowed to be on furniture, so I want to start young, teaching her that when I'm near a couch, I lay next to it instead of trying to put my paws up on it. I strive to teach my dog what I do want in a certain situation instead of all the things I don't want. Here, I'm starting to introduce verbal cues. I always start with the physical cues because that's more salient to the dog, and then I want to start adding my verbal cues as they clearly understand my hand signals. You can see at the beginning there that it's clear that she understands my hand signal for the down, so now it's time to add the new cue, which is the verbal. So go down, then hand signal for down, and then reward. And what she'll start to learn is that when I use the word down, I'm going to always use that hand signal, so I should just lay down when she says the word. Recall is going to always be a really important skill for any dog, and I start it very young. But you'll notice I start it with puppy. Because she doesn't know her name well yet, I want to just start with a very generic puppy, 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 and I want to save her name for when she knows it a little bit better, and I can really reinforce and highly reward her, hearing her name and then the come cue. I also want to start working on reinforcement zone, so basically teaching the puppy that being on my left-hand side and walking together is really important and very valuable to her. I always start this off of a leash because I really truly believe that leash walking skills always start off a leash. We've got to teach the dog what we want them to do. The leash is only there as a safety belt in case things don't go the way we were hoping they'd go. So I start here with teaching her about the left-hand side reinforcement zone. And finally, once I have some skills in my sterile environments like at work and in my training room, I'm going to start taking those behaviors outside and see if the dog can respond to some of those very basic cues like her name or the understanding of the reinforcement zone in a slightly more distracting environment. I'm only going to build on this slowly and only add very small distractions when I first start out. So next we're going to talk about integration. This isn't something everyone would have to deal with a new puppy that they're raising, but it's something that happens in my household. I have two very dog-selective dogs, and they don't accept new dogs easily. So I have to work hard at getting them to be able to coexist with the new puppy. I start with allowing Jake to do some butt sniffing of the puppy, and then we do a very short parallel walk together. This allows Jake to learn more about the puppy without having the puppy directly interact with Jake. When I feel like he's okay with that portion of it, I'll let him sniff the puppy for a little while, and then we'll go back to parallel walking. There's no prolonged interactions. I'm also giving him lots of cookies to let him know that in the presence of this puppy, lots of good things will happen to him. Once at home, I continue to build on the value of the place position with Osa so that I can start having my two dogs train together with her. My dogs do best when they're training with a new dog, so I just start with really reinforcing that place behavior for her. Then I bring in one new dog, Jake. He's the one that's more amicable to the puppy. Cool Whip is a more sensitive dog, and she's very nervous about having the puppy in the house. So I let her come into the training scenario when she feels like it. And then I have her be furthest away from the puppy and reward her continually for being in the puppy's presence. Again, building value for having the puppy around. I'm telling the dogs, when you train with this puppy, when the puppy is in the house, lots of good things are going to happen to you. I use the elevated platforms, the climbs here, to keep everybody separated and to show them where their position is. When you're managing a 3-dog household, I use a lot of management tools that include platforms so that I can call each dog off separately or train each dog separately while keeping the others in the room, and it works really well for me. Now we're working on the same thing all in the living room so that we can all relax at night. Unfortunately, after a week, I had to go away for work, so we're not totally integrated yet, but we are making steps and progress towards integration. On to socialization. So fortunately, the other puppy in Osa's litter also is being raised by a trainer at work, so they get to play together pretty frequently, which is really fun for both of them to be able to be kind of growing up together as siblings. This type of play also allows her to get some of her bitey and nippiness out in an appropriate way between each other before she also interacts with adult dogs or humans, which aren't going to appreciate the mouthing that she may do more of with a sibling. At this age, she's able to meet other healthy, vaccinated dogs that I know have good temperaments. So we started off with new dogs, including my father's retired guide dog and current guide dog, who I know are going to be good role models for Osa. But we also want to make sure she has experience with other breeds. So the other trainer, my friend Liz, who has the other O puppy, brought in a friend's dog that would be a good fit for introduction, as well as getting to introduce her to my sister-in-law's dog, who proved to be a really appropriate playmate and a type of dog that Osa had not seen before. So a really good fit, as well as getting to meet the kids while we were over there, which is another thing we have to be definitely conscious of in training, is meeting lots of children. Then Osa met another vaccinated dog that we knew, a little doodle friend, and finally she met my friend's border collie, who has raised many puppies and is very appropriate with puppies, but again, a different breed. And while we were over there, we even got to meet some chickens, which Osa did very well with and was very curious about. But socialization isn't just meeting other dogs. It's about surfaces and environments and anything that the puppy is going to have to tolerate during adult life, which is a lot as a service dog. We want to introduce them to young. So I'm using this wobbly surface to introduce her to maybe an unstable underfooting. And then I also popped her right in the cart here and brought her to Cabela's. Now this is a really stable dog, and going to Cabela's was not a risk at all for her, especially in the cart, because I knew she would be able to not only tolerate it, but actually have fun there, especially with a little training in the cart. We rolled her around. She got to see lots of different stuffed animals, people, other dogs, as well as have her first ride in a glass elevator, which is even more challenging. And you can see that she wasn't fazed at all by riding in this new environment. It was a great little exposure trip, but the whole trip took less than 10 minutes. It was really quick and really positive. Socialization is all about creating positive experiences, not just neutral ones. Osa really showed her confidence and great breeding with all of these new experiences her first week home. Moving on to my final catch-all, which is husbandry and handling, where we're going to tackle all the different parts of just living with a puppy. And the first one is making sure that they eliminate outside. And especially for service dogs, they need to be able to eliminate on leash wherever you need them to eliminate, and eventually on cue as well. So you can see me taking her out here on the leash, and then I'm going to reinforce with a cookie when she finishes doing her business. As we work towards potty training, I'll also be working on relieving on pavement, as well as being able to touch her back while she's eliminating. Now on to crate training. I haven't done any formal crate training with Osa yet, besides that I give her wonderful things in her crate, which keep her quiet as well as excited. Now at just over 10 weeks, whenever I get near the crate, she runs happily to it. I never had to teach her any specific word for crating. She just understands that all the good things happen when she's in the crate, which is what I want. I want her to think, ooh, when my human leaves, I get amazing things in my crate, and I should hang out there quietly. We also tackled bath time this first week, and I started without ever giving her a bath, just doing a feeding session in the bath before we even did the full bath. Then we went on to giving her a little yogurt and kibble mixture on one of these suction cup toys. I'll definitely link this down below because there's a lot of cool feeding toys out there now that you can use for happy bath time and happy care, like nails and doing that kind of thing. Because again, we want bath time to be a positive thing, and giving her something to associate it with, like yummy yogurt, is a really good way to kind of keep those positive vibes up with something that she's going to have to do throughout her life, which is get clean in a bathtub. We also worked on harnessing her. So I like to use a harness with young puppies. So I want to have easy harnessing where she's not flailing and wiggling around. Here she's sitting on top of the crate, and I will use some type of pedestal to start the harnessing process so that the dog can't wiggle too much and learns to be still when I harness them up. Eventually, this should transfer to a guide harness. The next thing we worked on was body handling. This puppy was a screamer from day one, so we worked very hard on just feeding in this flipped over position while I touched her feet. And you can see here she's all over the place, but as I progress and practice this every day, she starts being much more calm and happy to be between my legs while I touch her body. I'm also introducing the sound of the Dremel here, so that Dremel is running so she can hear the sound. I'm picking it up, I'm touching her with it, just getting used to the sound of this grooming tool that I'll eventually be able to use to cut her nails. And even in a later session, I was easily able to basically Dremel down her nails with it because she was introduced to it in a positive way. I even give her cookies just for touching and investigating the object. And finally, tie down. So service dogs spend a lot of time just hanging out with their handler. So for her, I wanted to start introducing her to the tie down, which is, hey, hang out on your bed attached to the couch while you chew on something lovely. And she did a great job. All right, everyone, so that's it. I want to end here with just some of the progress Osa's made now at the 10-week mark, so you can kind of see where these behaviors were and where they're going to, a little bit of cool progress that she's made and her excitement for training. If you found this video valuable, I encourage you to check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/doggyou, where we do monthly Q&A, more deep dives into training, and you can get your questions answered. We'd love to have you in the Doggy U crew community. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you can follow along with Osa's journey. We put out a couple new videos related to service dog, pet dog, and travel every single month. And if you have any comments, make sure to drop them down below, where you can also find the links to any of the products that we used here. Thank you for watching. You guys have a great day and happy training.
Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for our next video. Subscribe now and never miss an episode.